Hello there. Welcome. It's a 6 versus 6 on Adaptive Delta River. AI reckons it's going to be a 92% game going down on the 6th of Feb 2023. I'm also casting this 6th of Feb 2023, but I may upload it tomorrow because once again I'm buggering off. Dougie5 left a comment recently, very polite, with a little suggestion, and I've implemented it. He says, can you get a UI mod to highlight where the commanders are and strategic icons? Well, I've gone and done it. Hopefully that will improve the quality of the casts for everybody, and maybe even make my job a little easier. We'll have to see. The game was called I Have an Air Fryer and I Am a God. And I really like that. And so I've implemented that as well. Any good sounding games that are, usable, maybe a little edgy, but that don't cross the line that puts things at risk, I'll take it where I can. Request for noob games. I've also had somebody leave a comment and say, please, can you cast a noob game? I would love to cast a noob game. The problem is... And let's get the intro thing rolling while I finish explaining this one. So the problem is with the noob games, they often tend to be quite static games where you'll either have 2 players or 2 teams, and they'll sort of rush to build a wall that's impenetrable by anything other than masses of experimentals, and then they'll go behind the wall, they'll tech up for the majority of the game with very little, if any, action, and then they'll either out-nuke each other, out-artillery each other, or out-spam experimentals against one another. And it doesn't make for the most interesting games ever. That said, I'm aware not every game is like that. It's just a lot of the games. And so here's my pledge to you. If you can be bothered to find me a replay ID of a decent game, whether it's a noob game or any other, leave it in the comments section. I did say email me, but I'm actually thinking leave it in the comments section is a better idea. Here's my pledge to you. Here's the deal. I will check that replay ID that you leave me, and I will either A, I'll cast it, or B, I'll get back to you and tell you why not. I can't say simpler or fairer than that. I will not ignore you. The channel isn't at the size where there's hundreds of comments a day. I can get back to you. I have that little luxury at this time, and that's my pledge. And so if we can all be okay and deal with that, that's the deal to you. All right, on to the game today then, over on Adaptive Delta River. It's a 20 by 20. We'll teleport in. And let's go. Boom. All right. Taking a look at the map then. We've seen this one before. 20 by 20 kilometers. So it's like a Set-On's size map. Although looking anything like a Set-On's. Well, there's water and there's some grass. But I think that's about where the similarities start and end. Over then onto the top side, Team 1. In the rear, with the gear, it's Geneva Convention, 1700 rated UEF player, by far the highest rated player in the game. Continuing over to his east, in blue, it's Hi Ha Ho, 1500 rated Aeon player. Perhaps I was a little eager to say he was the highest rated by far, but certainly the highest rated player in the game there, Geneva Convention. Hi Ha Ho, Aeon, also going first land. Continuing around the clock then, in pink, forwards, facing off to the 5 or the 4 o'clock position. It's DE_10K. He's Cybran, 900 rated, going first land. Bagged himself a couple of the mass points, 1 power generator, and then going for the Hydra. Now that it may seem kind of an unusual build, and normally I would say yes, but he does have access, if we take a look here, to some shipwrecks, so it's maybe not as crazy as a build order as it might initially seem. Let's come down here then to the 6 or 7 o'clock position for Team 1. It's Angel Raid, a 1000 rated Seraphim player, and he went first air. And then last but not least for Team 1, in the central position, sort of if we zoom out, it's kind of wedged in between all the other players. It's Hot Soup, 1300 rated Cybrant, going first land. And here we see the much larger ACU icons, the UI mod there, so I hope that's to everybody's pleasing. They've also got a little box around them, so I am a fan of that. And if you look real carefully, you can just about make out that they're indicative of which faction they are. Though you have to have good eyes. Certainly if you're casting like me about 2 feet from the screen with a microphone wedged between you and the screen, it's not always obvious. But moving on then, over to the south side. Just slow time down a bit because it looks like some of our players are already moving in. Let's start then at the 12 o'clock position for the south side team, or the, slightly off to 1 o'clock. It's Drunken Warden. He's 1000 rated Cybrant and is already moving into the central island there, looking to cap that. He also went first air. Moving down then to their, well, I guess not really the central position, but it's weird how the positions feel kind of different based on which way round you're looking at the map. Does feel more central, this guy, sharing the middle island with white there. In grey is SS. I'm just going to call him Bahaj or Barg. B-H-A-R-G. Maybe it's the silent H. Barg. He's Seraphim. Already looking to cap the little side island here with his commander. Went first land and second air. Already with a lot of power there. Continuing then, the second central player for the southern team, Team 2. It's End the Grand. 1100 rated. Also Seraphim. I get the impression people like Seraphim on this map. I seem to recall that was the deal before. Further to the south then for Team 2. In the rear with the gear, Signal Runner, 1600 rated, going first and second air. And look at this. Not rushing to grab the mass point. It's actually going to go get the mass first and then the mass point second. Not always a fan of that, but sometimes if you've got a crazy build that relies on mass income very quickly, and the mass reclaim is a quicker income than the mass point, the problem is you're losing mass every tick that you don't have that captured. So it could be arguably a waste of mass, but if you're doing a very specific build and you need 100 mass right now, and then the trickle of mass can wait the 10 seconds or so it's going to wait, well, then there you go. You've got your 100 mass. At the expense of, having lost that little trickle where you would have then got the reclaim anyway. So again, is it a waste? Yes, but only for a specific build. Could it be justified? And I'm sure at that rating, 1600, he can justify it. Over then, continuing on round the clock in the very southernmost the most westerly position for the southern team, who of course find themselves on the east side of the map, is Joker, 1400, Seraphim rated. Probably went first land just because of the proximity, and then went second air, already working on naval yards. And then last but not least for the southern team, it's Robot, R600. We'll call him Robot, the 1100 rated, going UEF, first land, second air, expanding in all the usual ways. Very nice aggressive expansion here from Joker. Moving his ACU, I guess he feels that is the safest way to secure the expansion over here. And apologies on Team 1. Got confused. Thought it was a 5v5. Should look at my own title. No, it's a 6 versus 6. T-Rex, the 900 rated UEF guy on the front line here. Apologies. 1,000 apologies, T-Rex, for missing you out there. I didn't now. I did get you in the end. Get a special sticker. Get a gold star for already deceiving me. T-Rex there. Alright, sounds like some of the action is starting. And it is Joker, who looks like he's set his point defense to manually fire at some wall sections. I'm sure only he would know what the point is of firing at a wall section. That must have been a manual order, because that is not a standard operating procedure. Joker, do let us know. And look at this, a nano repair. Repair started just 5.5 minutes in, and Robot is going to finish that pretty quick, 65%. Can he really afford that? Is the UEF? Well, nearly. It's very close. He's 80%. Is he going to stall a little bit? Yes, but he's so close, 85%. I think he can ride that stall out. And Joker, is he continuing to move to the side? Oh, it would seem yes, with other units as well. He has air over here, looking to at least tie up some of the forces coming down. Angel Raid is the player from the northern team who's started to set up shop here. He's got transports here with units. Certainly going to want to use that. And the real engagement has started over here. We've got two players from the northern team. Look at this. We've got Hot Soup in red, who's coming over here with his ACU, in addition with DE10K, who's got his commander and is setting up shop with some units, versus Drunken Warden. Now he, as far as I can tell, is here by himself with a couple of factories, and so 3 factories and commander versus 2 factories and commander. But we can guess which way that's gonna go. Adding to that there's a second commander for the North team, things are starting gonna look problematic for Drunken Warden. We'll have to see if he asks for help. And over the northeasterly island has gone over to Hi Hello, and looks like for 0 effort there's going to be a minor attempt here from Barg, but that's going to go down completely for naught. It's going to lose the transport and the engineers. And so I think with that we can afford to go back to normal speed. So much, just 12 players, and nobody can be accused of turtling on this one. Now, Drunken Warden, he's already got himself a Tech 2. Point defense. The thing with that is they can get overcharged, and it's, you know, it's the Cybran, they're quite weak. Now look at this, he's going after the individual units. I guess he realizes there's no point going after Commander with a Cerberus turret. And I like that. But it looks like the commanders, the 2 versus 1, despite the very nice use of the Cerberus turret, got himself 11 kills there. Manages to get a Tech 1 point defense. D10K. Thing is, if he is a Tech 2, and he is, he'll be able to build another Tech 1 point defense very quickly. And there we see it. Now build over your wreck. Build over your wreck before the other team reclaims it. That's where your next build has got to be. Build on your wreck. Drunk Warden, twice as quick to build, half the price. Build on the wreck. Don't build down there, build on the wreck. Why are you doing this? Build on the wreck. Hot Soup running away. 2,200 and change left hit points. D10K also moving away. Drunk Warden spins round, puts the Tech 1 point defense at range. Very nice. And then starts on the Tech 2 Cerberus. Very, very well held there, Drunk Warden. He's only 1,000 rated, and he's held off against 2 ACUs. Hot Suit was 1,300. D10K 900. And so you could argue he's pretty much even with the pink guy. But Hot Suit was only there with his commander. I don't think he could offer very much else. And at least for now, 10 points there to Drunk Warden, and he needed something because the top right island, the northeast there, has gone over to Team 1. Team 1, the top left team, Team 2, lower right. Yes, I call it the north and south. But this is a surprise. Angel Raid, we saw him, you know, getting established, but I really thought Joker was going to be a little more aggressive with his commander in trying to set up over here. Now, looks like Joker realizes this. He's sent engineers in, and I can only assume they're going to help his commander tech up, and that looks like exactly what's happening. Joker going for the gun. Does he have anything else? Well, not yet. Is he going to appear just with the gun? Or is he going to get Tech 2? We'll have to see on there. Looks like the southern team have managed to grab the south central island. You know, there's two main islands, the south central, the north central, and then we've got the southern tip, we'll call it, and the northern tip. And looks like north central one still 50-50, but Drunken Warden looking very strong there, and looks like his plan is to go with a Tech 2 point defense creep, and that will win it, I think, for him, providing he doesn't get picked off or sniped before he completes that. And looks like D10K agrees. He's already left the island. He's got engineers out trying to get what reclaim they can. I think at this point producing more Tech 1 is a waste of your own resources, and not only that, it's just going to leave more reclaim behind for Drunk Warden, and unless you're switching gears quick, there's nothing you can do here. Although this could be a gear switch. We've got a Tech 2 destroyer here from D10K, and for those of you with eagle eye vision, the thumbnail of this video was these two. And as said, Drunk Warden, this guy knows things, 1,000 rated. And if you look real carefully, you will have seen that he was using the naval yard to hide inferior amount of firepower behind the naval yard, but so he could go at the superior firepower, and the naval yard would basically absorb in the hit points. I've always been somebody that goes on about that, because there are other casters that sometimes get confused. Well, why would you do this behind a naval yard? And I've said it before. What's the point? That is the point. So Drunken Warden is a guy who knows things. I can only assume a Drunken Warden being a bloke, but you never know. Could be the other way. So let's have another look then down here. And looks like Angel Raid, the old arty spam trick, raining that. And look how effective that is versus units that are standing still. Tech 1, especially the Seraphim Arty, it can shoot while it moves, it can float. Some argue very overpowered. You can't stand still next to it, you have to keep moving. But it looks like Joker now is establishing a front down here. He's leading the way with his ACU. He's producing land factories down here, and I can only guess he's going to send supporting units along. Maybe some air guns, maybe some artillery of his own, scouts, tanks, and more engineers. South Central then looks like T-Wex not ready to give up entirely. He does have the gun on his commander. He's working on a second factory. Robot looks a lot stronger. He's got gun and nano repair. He's already got 3 factories there. So if Robot wants, I think he can kick T-Wex off. Problem is, T-Wex already with 3 destroyers and frigates. Runs, and look at that light just backing off. The 900 rated T-Wex here playing really well. Hot Navy together with Hotsuit. I'd love to see these guys work together. Right now, if these guys wanted, I think they could boot Robot off this island. If they could come back here, they could cut off his factories. Robot would be completely surrounded and isolated, and they could potentially pick him off at that point. If they wanted, I think they've got enough firepower to do it. But look at this. I was all ready to write this off as a victory for Drunken Warden. But here we see D10K, the perfect counter to the Tech 2 point defense creep, sending destroyers, Tech 2, Cybran ones, of course, with the Incy-Wincy abilities. And that is going to beat Tech 2-point defense all day long and twice on Sundays. Very well played there. I like it, especially when it was the lower rated player that came up with the counter to the higher rated player. Come back, even if it was just one little battle. North East side looking very, very comfortable for Hai Haho, who so far hasn't had to do much. When you've got a 1500 rated, who's basically sat in the rear with very little to do, attacks not coming his way, expect massive amounts of danger to come from that player. Gonna slow time right down now, and I want to point something out. It's not, this may be obvious to some people, it's going to be completely new to others, and it's to do with the scoreboard here. And if we take a look, we've got this specific setting here. Now, I'm not talking about the kill-loss ratio. I don't know why people care about the kill-loss ratio. If you have a Titan and it kills 5 scouts, you're going to have, and let's just assume then that the Titan dies as well, somehow, maybe to a strap bomb. You're going to have a 5-to-1 kill ratio, which is, oh, well, that's good, you must be playing really well. Well, what is better, 5 scouts or 1 Titan? Well, clearly the Titan is better than 5 scouts. And so I think the kill-loss ratio is basically, no, I mean, you can have one guy that is spamming artillery for days, and they're getting a lot done, but because of the artillery is such a cheap unit, they can have a terrible kill-loss ratio. But the amount of work that they're getting done could be huge. And so we've got this one here. It's called the kills build ratio, or the kills built. And it's based not on how many units have you killed, but the mass value that you have spent versus the mass value that you have killed. And so, at risk of boring some people who think, I know this is obvious, let's just have everybody on the same page. Let's assume that you build 10 tanks. Let's just pause this game entirely. Or like this. Let's take a look at what we've got here. We've got the boats. And so let's assume this is what's going on. We've got frigates and subs here. Let's just keep it simple. Let's say that there's 10 in total here belonging to Joker, and that he's spent 1,000 mass. I realize it's going to be a bit more than that, but, you know, let's just keep it simple. And let's assume that Angel Raid has built 4, or let's say 5. He builds 5 boats total, and they cost 500 mass. So 1,000 mass on the boats here, 500 mass on the boats here. Let's assume then that they go head to head and Joker wins. Joker, who has spent 1,000 mass on his boats, kills 500 mass worth of units on the other side. In other words, you could say it's a 2-to-1 up for Joker. Of course, Joker not only gets to 5 kills, but his units are to some extent still going to be alive. Whether it's 10, whether it's 9, doesn't matter. The point is he's won. But if we just take a look at the mass value, ignore the number of units, ignore even what type of units, it was 1,000 mass versus 500. And what that means is the 500 mass was killed. Yeah, the 5 units that in our little example belonging to Angel Raid died. And Joker won with his 1,000 mass investment. If we divide the mass killed, i.e. the 500 mass, by the 1,000 mass spent to kill the mass, in this, our example, 1,000, we end up with a value or a ratio of 0.5. That is what this is here, the builds to kill. Now, you can see the ratio there, they're saying pro, if you get 0.25. So, in other words, for every 4,000 mass that you spend on whatever it is, if you manage to kill 1,000 mass of whatever it is belonging to the enemy, that, as far as this scoreboard goes, reckons that you're a pro. If it's 15, a ratio of 15, then it reckons you average. And if the ratio is less than 0.05, then that means you're bad. So in other words, if you're spending 1,000 mass, but you're only killed 50 mass of the opponent, then you're not playing very well. And so I really like that because it completely ignores how many units, because again, you know, Tech 1 Air Scouts, they're really cheap to build, and they shouldn't be equated on the same regards as like a Monkey Lord. I mean, clearly, yes, they're both classed as one unit, but the mass values vary. And so with that very long, drawn-out explanation, I hope everybody is on the same page there. And so, you know, it's the mass. How much mass did you invest to kill how much mass of something that belonged to the enemy? And the less mass that you invested to kill more mass of the enemy, the better of a player you are, clearly. And it looks like now Angel Raid is at risk of losing a Tech 2 destroyer to a bunch of frigates. The best thing for this destroyer would be to submerge, and he does get it to submerge. And now Angel Raid's Tech 2 destroyer turns in to a submarine, and his sub's going to have its way with these frigates eventually. But looks like not before the frigates knocking out this little very aggressive naval yard placement. Don't forget, Angel Raid belongs to Team 1, who's up here. He built naval yards ways down here. I like the idea of it, but it looks like Joker's had a similar idea, and Joker on station with his commander. I'm surprised he's running away. I'm surprised he didn't stick around to finish what was going on here. He came all this way, built the gun. Maybe it was just to get a foothold, but I'm still kind of surprised. Although I'd like to see Angel Raid using his destroyer. Always look like he's going to move out of the way, surface, and use the destroyer at range, which yet will put out more damage per second. He's got to keep microing that. Over to the South Central Island then, looks like Robot has won that comprehensive style. One hydro farm remaining here, belonging to T-Wex. I don't think that Robot's going to worry too much about that, but it's certainly something he wants to deal with at some point. Let's have a little look. Is it? Yeah, well, for sure he knows it's there. T-Wex does grant him an iota of visibility, but yeah, basically nothing at this point. However, T-Wex, and again, the 900 rated, looks like punching well above his weight here. He's got a number of cruisers, but I'd like to see him working a bit better with Hot Soup. Hot Soup's sort of hanging back here, letting T-Wex take an awful lot of damage. And T-Wex now running away. Hot Soup is now moving to cover. Nice indeed. You don't want to let your ally lose all their ships and fight unfairly, because, well, when they're dead, it's your turn next. And I'm sure at 1300, Hot Soup is no stranger to that idea. But T-Wex, look, he don't just run away entirely. He doubles back round. He's already got engineers on the line reclaiming. This Tech 2 NG has already got 1,300 mass to its name. And I'm sure that is going to update once he gets that ship. And there he does, 2,100 mass just off that one engineer. The battle continues. D10K moving in now. And we've got a 3 versus 2. Drunken Warden and End the Grand. And they do have a lot of tech there. And so the northern team, no, you've got to work together here. Team 1, the North team, looks like they've split off a bit. T-Wex, okay, T-Wex was forced to split off. Very nice distracting attack there from Joker, pushing up here, forces T-Wex to come out of the central battle. That alleviates the pressure for the southern team, who I think were starting to look a little precarious there. But it needs 10k here, D10k, to work with Hot Soup. I'd like to see me the hand units off, or at the very least, stay proactive in this. And what's this? Barg sending a massive flotilla of Tech 1 subs. Well, the cruiser's going to want to run away from that. Yes, the destroyers will have some abilities to deal with this. Got a lot of counter-intel boats here from D10K. 3 counter-intel boats. I'd like to see a 4th one. He needs more. Oh, he's got a battleship inside 20 minutes. 19 minutes. D10K with a battleship on the line. T-Wex does take out the attacks here. Looks like he lost his Tech 2 HQ. It's going to be rebuilding that. Right, North team, your front T-Wex guy, he needs help. You need to come here and help him now. If you don't help him now, T-Wex is going to go out, and he has been playing a fantastic game for a 900 rated. The joint lowest rated player in the game. He's certainly not been playing like the lowest, and that always makes me excited when the lower guy plays like he's doing well. And Hot Soup recognizes the input and the value that T-Wex has put into this, moves in and is trying his best. T-Wex does have a few units here. The problem is when they go down, he will have absolutely nothing left. He needs to keep these moving so that he doesn't take too many long-range shots. He's got to keep going. He loses one of his destroyers. He's only got 2 left. He's got 1 frigate. And he's using his naval yard for defense. I don't believe it. Somebody else who's been watching my streams, clearly the only place you could get intel like this from, as best as he can, hiding behind his base. He's got torpedo launchers here. Hot Soup sends torp bombers over, and that just about keeps T-Wex in the game. Now I'd like to see him go after these engineers, and that's the first thing it looks like he's doing. This reclaim belongs to T-Wex, hard fought for. Over then, further to the west, Joker versus Angel Raid. Tech 1 frigate. What Angel Raid did there, rather than going all after these frigates, he set a couple of destroyers to plug the gap to prevent enforcements coming through. This allows Geneva Convention with huge loads of torp bombers to pick out the frigates. Excellent teamwork from the Northern team. Excellent teamwork. Everywhere I look, teamwork. Very, very nice to see. And with this battleship here, D10K, 18 kills. And a lot of those will have been long-range shots. He's already got a second battleship there. The Northern team looking very, very strong now, naval-wise. Hi-ha-ho. Hi-ha-ho continues what looks like to push out and advance without much resistance at all. He's got limited navy here that doesn't look like it needs to be facing any sort of threat at all. He's got a big squad of torp bombers behind. Geneva Convention, the air player for Team 1's got a lot of torpedo bombers as well, but they're winning. Glimmer of hope here. Joker does cap the southwest island. And Team 2 also with the volcano and the south central island. And so, at least territorial-wise, it is now exactly 50-50 split. The southern team, yeah, the drawing not so good at this point. Behind this line. And here, Drunken Warden looks like potentially on the chopping block. He's got almost nothing to deal with, thank goodness. Thank goodness here he's getting some support from Grey Barg. Barg 6516 to give him his full title. Problem is, there's more stuff coming down the north from Hi-Ha-Ho. And again, this is where I just feel the Southern team not playing the best team play game. Yet the situation is precarious. Endergrand doing what he can with what he has. But he's going to lose this. There's just too much teamwork from the north side. You're up against 2 battleships as well as a team. It needs support. And this is where I just feel like Robot, you know what, send your stuff in to help. Joker, you need to support what's going on here. Looks like Joker's intent on pushing up through the west flank. All right, maybe you could argue it's providing a distraction. I'd agree with that to some extent. But Endergrand had a huge navy there, and about half of it's gone down in that engage. It needs these players to work together. Massive, massive torpedo strike here from Hi-Ha-Ho. And huge, huge numbers of navy. These are all destroyers. and he's got very, very little to shoot them down with. Yeah, there are some cruisers who are now getting surrounded with subs and frigates. Finally, air from the southern team. You got to be thinking, what has been going on here? Signal Runner, well, he's going big time on the air grid. It's not online yet, and it looks like his team are paying the price for that, losing large amounts. Oh, and then flies over a SAM site central. Oh no. Things going from bad to worse for the southern team right now. Another massive naval strike, torpedo strike on the Navy from Geneva Convention. The North team going after Joker's Navy, who once again determined to get onto T-Wex's base, does take out the HQ. But again, at a huge cost. He does have some floaty flaks in the area, but they're taking a long time to get through these torp bombers. This cannoneer with just 1 kill. The other one we hovered over had 0. This one's got 0. And this is sad. He's sending more flaks in all the time, and who can blame him? But I just feel like this is what happens when you have 6 players on one side versus 1 team on the other. I mean, look at this. Perfect team play. You've got air from one guy, you've got 2 different groups of Navy, and here, look at this. You've got one guy chucking his Navy in, you've got the other guy retreating back here, you've got the other guy stood over on the side where there's nothing. Just, I hate it when I sort of get critical and I realise this isn't the highest rated game ever, and I always feel like I'm being a bit of a, bit of a twat when I'm going after players like this, but it's painful to see. And hopefully, if my cast, even if you think, oh, you're talking about me there as you watch this, and thumbs down, please, I'm not having a go. Take the advice that I'm giving. I feel that if the lower team were playing as a team, the top team wouldn't have been able to bulldoze their way through the centre in the way that we've just seen. Now, arguably, Pink is moving a little away from his pal. Maybe that's not the best team play ever from the north side. Who knows? And look at this. Naval yards on the front line, and I guarantee you they're going to move NGs on the attack move there. Grabbing hold of that, and if we zoom out, slow time down real quick, 27 minutes. So much stuff there. Oh, look at that. That says it all. 8.5 here, 14.5 there, plus hundreds all around. Basically 30,000 mass right there. And now the North team looking like they're going to kick Robot off this little island. Joker is continuing to hold over here. Despite all that air, he's got so many floaty flaks in the area. Well, let's just have a little look now at some of these scores. Then we'll resume full pace. Signal Runner does now have some ASF on the line, is going after torpedo bombers belonging to the North team. Not a moment too soon. Drunken Warden being super aggressive here with Tech 2 Barracuda subs going after counter intel boats. The real threat really for the subs is the other destroyers. And Hot Suit pushing through. So let's have a little look now. So even at -6, action unfolding so fast. That's how much is going on this game. Incredibly, all 12 players are still alive. So let's have a little look then. Mass income-wise, it's 1.6 versus 1.5, slightly favouring Team 1 there. Totals overall 1.33 million versus 1.13 million. So again, favouring the Northern team slightly more. And I guess that's because of the reclaim. And yeah, 109,000 for Team 1 versus 81,000 for Team 2. So about a 30% advantage. And that is because as Team 1 were able to push this Navy through, they were able to follow it up with engineers and hoover all that mass up. I guarantee you that is where that difference came from. And one last thing then, we wanted to look at this new kills to build ratio. And if I click right just temporarily, we're going to see who is getting the most done in terms of mass spent. And ways out ahead, it's a 900 rated in pink, 0.38 ratio. So what that means is, for every 100 mass he's spent, he's killed 38 mass of whatever belonging to the opposing team. And so that is the highest ratio. The worst ratio is Robot, 0.09. So for every 100 mass he's spent, he's only killed 9 mass of the opposing. And I think that's obvious. Look, he's turtling. He's not really contributing much into the action. And the scoreboard reflects that. And so players, beware. This column on the scoreboard will identify who is sat in rear turtling, not contributing much to their team. And it doesn't care, oh, well, I was trying to rush a Mava, and that's why. Well, you were trying to rush a Mava, you spent all of that eco, you killed nothing, your ratio's going to show it. And so, big favor of this particular column. I'm sure it's going to cause some arguments, but I'm going to leave it on there, and we'll rearrange these back by the teams. And I'm going to leave it on there that the kills to build ratio, not, again, kill loss ratio, which to me is basically worthless. All right. Back to full pace as we enter minute 28. And what's this? Tech 3 sub-killers from the Southern team. Well, I think they needed something that was going to switch gears a bit. Maybe that's it. I feel that they could use a few more. The destroyers do have anti-torpedo measures. And there we can see it. There's too many destroyers there. I don't believe it. Is he ground firing where the sub is? He's ground firing where the sub is. And he's going to get it. This is top play. The 900, it ground fired a Tech 3 Sarah sub and killed it with his battleship. 900 rated player did that. Over then on the West Extreme, and I like the way Signal Runner, correction, Barg is positioning the 1000 Sarah rated. He's leading with destroyers. He's got cruisers slightly following up, and that is going to supply him with some air. But he's got to use it. What is he waiting for? His teammates going down. Come on, help your team out. Oh, just terrible, terrible play. Terrible. I'm sorry, it is what it is. It's terrible. You're gonna be next. Look at this SimCity setup that you've got. You realise you're next. You're not helping your mate. He needs you now. Drunken Warden, the 1000 rated, left to face the entire wrath of the opposing team, what feels like all by his lonesome. Signal Runner gets a perimeter monitoring station online, probably just in time for it to see that the shit has well and truly hit the fan, in no doubt large part due to all these counter intel boats that the north side have fielded. And it comes online, and credit to Drunken Warden, he's not just going to stay there and die, he's going to try and get away. And again, most players would just go up with their island, you know, they've got naught left. Although, when you've got Cybran players who have got nothing left, you know, there's always the potential that with one mass point and the spillover of energy, that they can get themselves the telemaser and not necessarily render themselves entirely useless. The perimeter station goes down from Signal Runner, so yeah, it came on just in time to see that the situation is grim. And now, what feels like Barg, who's playing like he's... I have to say this, he's playing like he's AFK. And Barg, forgive me if you are or you're not, but it seems like you're AFK. I mean, just ships going there, they're not moving, they're not responding. You've got umpteen idle engineers. I mean, what exactly is going on? Well, he's going to eat... Oh, he's got a nuke defense and it's only 2/3 loaded. Bug. That said, where's his, you know what's 0.16. Okay, so could be worse. Could be worse, but it's certainly on the bottom half. D10K up to 048. There goes the nuke. So Barger isn't AFK, and that's he runs. And let's slowly resume speed. Guys, I feel like a right twat here, tearing into some players, but I should maybe try ease off on that. It's just so difficult when, I mean, I get emotionally tied up in the game. I get excited, I get upset, I see things that are amazing, and I see things that are shit. And I've got this disease where I say what I see. I know some people are real political and they're able to just dress things up nice all the time. I'm not like that. I come from a generation where we still called a spade a spade. It was dying. As I was finishing school, that stuff was dying. They started to rename things, and you couldn't say certain things, and that was just coming in as I was leaving. Oh no, no! I shouldn't have said anything. I've caused it to screw up. No, fuck. Bollocks!